In today's show, the Trail Blazers beat the Toronto Raptors, which is what the Raptors wanted and what the Trail Blazers wanted too. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, recapping just a perfect Sunday matinee. Blazers win 105-102 over the Toronto Raptors. Both teams got what they wanted. We'll talk all about it. Blazers coming back in the fourth quarter in the final 5 minutes to take the lead and secure it. Matisse Thybulle makes his debut, and we'll get into all of the things that transpired late in that game, whether they're good for the health of the league or not. And then, speaking of the health of the league, I did a little number crunching, and not mine, but a solution offered here on the podcast, the Keith Parrish perfect solution to tanking, the tank point system. I crunched the numbers on the tank points and looked at the bottom 14 teams in the league and where they would rank if we use the Keith Parrish tank points system to fix the lottery. That's what we'll do in today's program. Let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about. First, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers win this game 105-102. It took a minute to get there. Blazers down 10-4. Chauncey Billups takes his timeout 2 minutes into the game, says, okay, we're turning the ball over. We're not getting back on defense. We gave up a wide-open three-pointer to Jakob Poeltl, which is a scripted play to open the game for the Raptors, and their bench was going nuts. The Raptors broadcast was going nuts. The Raptors broadcast was celebrating with the Raptors bench. Everybody was enjoying it because Jakob Poeltl was hitting a three. The people who weren't enjoying it were the Portland Trail Blazers coaching staff. They take a timeout. Team down 10-4, 2 minutes into the game. It didn't get better right away, at least. Raptors out of the timeout score the next 8 points, honestly, 12-2 out of the timeout. They led 22-6 early in this game, and I was like, oh, the Blazers just don't have enough juice. They're not playing, I don't think they were playing. It wasn't like they were playing soft necessarily, but they just weren't playing with focus. Like, this wasn't a team that was playing with like real purpose. You didn't see a team playing with real purpose. And when you're not playing with real purpose and you're playing against anybody, even the Raptors, who have accidentally won 3 in a row, you can find yourself in trouble. That's what the Blazers did, but they hung with it. And when Denny Avdia hits a corner three, kind of leaning off of 1 foot corner three and smiles to the crowd like, yeah, I hit that. That was a big one. Blazers find themselves tied at halftime. From down 16 to tied at halftime, but it got a little dicey in the third quarter as well. Raptors, again, when they played their healthy players, and the Raptors are, they're still missing a lot of dudes. No RJ Davis, no Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram hasn't played a single minute for them, but they're playing Scotty Barnes in this one. They're playing Jakob Poeltl a little bit in this one, and when those gentlemen were on the court, they were pretty good. Plus minus, it would indicate it as much, particularly Jamal Shed. They're the lone healthy point guard on the on the Raptors roster. They were pretty good when those gentlemen played. And the Raptors, again, in the third quarter, not entirely with their starters because they built their biggest lead after deep into the quarter with substitutions, but they got a lead with 2:35 left, up by 15 in the third quarter. It's like, uh-oh. And in fact, with the Blazers down 14 late in the third quarter, Chauncey Billups says, you know what? Let's dust off an old friend. Matisse Thybulle makes his season debut in this one, finally getting into a game. Checks in with 2:51 left, and the Blazers down 13. He checked in between free throws, so technically they're... depending on how you want to slice it. But the way I am going to slice it, they were down 12. And the Blazers close the quarter well with Thybulle on the court. Down 13. And they close the quarter well with Thybulle on the court. And they're down 5 heading into the fourth quarter. 82-77. It's going to be a ball game. Raptors don't really pull away, but with 6 minutes left, with 8 minutes and 41 seconds left, Scotty Barnes and Jamal Shed head to the bench. Raptors young point guard, Jamal Shed, Raptors, former rookie of the year, their best player, Scotty Barnes head of the bench with 8:41 left in the fourth quarter. Okay, they're gonna take a breath and probably check back in. They don't. And with Raptors up 6 at that point, with 5:22 left, the Raptors still up 6. Jakob Poeltl, the Raptors starting center and their best player, He goes to the bench. Raptors come out of the timeout with a bench unit in the game. Jamison Battle, Ochai Agbaji, AJ Lawson, Colin Castleton, Orlando Robinson. Okay. Blazers close the game on a 16-7 run and win. Anthony Simons cut the lead to 1 with a three-pointer with 3:20 left. Toumani Camara gives the Blazers the lead for good with a driving layup at the cup with 2:42 left. And then Deni Avdija, a dunk through the foul in traffic. The stadium is rocking. Blazers take a 4-point lead with 2:06 left. But the Raptors hang around when Jamison Battle hits a 3 with 16.1 seconds left. It's just a 1-point game. And then coming out of that, after that make, the Raptors don't foul. They let 10 seconds run off the clock. Truly bizarre. I don't think that was specifically tanking. I think that was just bad basketball playing. They finally fouled Deni Avdija. He hits 2 free throws, a 3-point game. Raptors going to get the ball back with 5.5 seconds left. They take their timeout. They set up a look. Ends up swinging to Orlando Robinson, their center on the left wing, and he lines up a slowly loaded three-pointer, and Matisse Thybulle, who's in the game for defensive purposes, blocks the shot before it ever has a chance. Matisse Thybulle, who when he was healthy last season, was one of the great jump shot blockers in the league, doing what he does, sealing the game with a block shot, not on Tease. Ball pops free. Blazers win your ball game 105-102. That's your fastest recap in the West. In the grand scheme of things, as the Blazers pursue their goals and the Raptors pursue theirs, fun game. Even in the micro, the Blazers came back. When Anthony Simons hit a 3, the stadium was rocking. When Toumani Camara made a layup, the stadium was rocking. When Deni Avdija had a dunk to put an and one dunk through traffic, like one of those like gonna be, high on the top 10 type of dunks. Like it was a beast finish. And makes a free throw and they're up 4. Stadium's rocking. Like the building is buzzing. When Matisse Thybulle blocks a shot at the win, the building is buzzing. I attended this game with my small child when the streamers fell from the rafters. Small children seated near me at least enjoyed it. I was sitting next to some folks. I wasn't on press row. I was sitting in the stands. Like the people next to me enjoyed it. I don't think they clocked exactly what the Raptors were doing, but if you're a listener to this program, you know what happened. Let's talk a little bit about it, because in the grand scheme of things, this was a nice little win for the Blazers. When you zoom in, it's kind of messy nonsense. It's kind of messy nonsense for the Raptors. Let's talk about that and a little bit about Matisse Thybulle's debut and a couple other odds and ends from this game. Join me in that second segment, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you about DoorDash. NBA fans, it's simple. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time an NBA player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's pretty simple. An NBA player scores 50 points in a game during the NBA's regular season. If you are a Dash Pass member, you can get 50% off an order. That's up to $10 off any order the next day from noon to midnight. Or if you're a West Coast listener, 9 a.m. to 11:59 Pacific time, all freaking day long for my Pacific time listeners. So say you're watching a game. There's an epic 50-point performance, and then you're rewatching the highlights late at night. You got a little late night craving. Well, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while you're saving big. Or maybe you watched the game the night before. You're at work the next day and you want a little lunch on the go. Well, if you need a quick and easy lunch, Dash Pass can get your favorite meals with 0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more points in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day. You just use that promo code NBA50 on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's show, in addition, is also brought to you by the good folks over at FanDuel. It is indeed March Madness. It is upon us. So why not get on over to FanDuel and give yourself a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You can pick your favorites Whether you were born in central North Carolina and root for a baby blue university that made it by the skin of their teeth into the tournament, or you root for one of the other teams, you can stay in on the action all tournament long. That first week is as fun as it gets. That first couple days, that Friday and that Thursday, Friday of the men's tournament, the early days of the women's tournament is the same stuff. So why not get on over to FanDuel? It's easy to use, and when you get paid, you can get your money instantly. There's no waiting around. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on all of the college hoops action all tournament long. All right. So I think there was a lot to like in this game. Like I mentioned, I watched this game from the stands, a little bit different view. Quite frankly, I had better seats, but than I normally do for a game. But it's different. I watched like hundreds of Blazer games from my specific spot on press row. Sitting anywhere else in the arena feels like I'm watching a different game a little bit, but I was able to overcome it because I was sitting pretty close. But like, I feel like there's a lot to like in this game. Like I don't want to be hypercritical of the Trailblazers. Quite frankly, I don't think the Portland Trailblazers really did anything that's worth criticizing in this game. Scoot Henderson was bad. I guess we could criticize him. He was bad. He came out just followed up an awesome game with a stinker. It happens. Young players are going to have ups and downs. But Anthony Simons hit 6 threes. Toumani Camara hit 5 threes. When Toumani Camara hits 5 threes, you can see the vision. Denny Avdia had 19, 6, and 6, and a huge dunk in with 2 minutes left to kind of seal the deal. Matisse Thybulle came in, he didn't play a lot. He played 6 minutes. This wasn't like he played a lot of minutes. Played the last 3 minutes of the third quarter, first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's kind of a classic, like steal some minutes time of rotation stuff. I'm not sure he gets in the game if the Blazers aren't down 14, but it's like, well, shoot, nothing else working. Might as well go to Tease, right? Like it was one of those games. I guess if they'd been winning big, he probably would have played. But Matisse Thybulle makes his debut, does not attempt a shot, finishes with 2 defensive rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. Matisse Thybulle comes in the game and has 2 steals and a block in 6 minutes. The dude is a defensive playmaking monster. One of his steals is just like one of those track backs, right? Like he knows the pass is coming back into the paint and he just makes a move. He had another one, the other steal was a poke away from behind on a drive. Like, he gets behind the ball handler, says, go to the rim, boop, pokes it away. Like a dude makes plays. His block is a block from behind. It's not like he has a gift. He is a unique and weird defender, but there aren't too many folks like him, and he's special. Every time he shoots the ball well. Shaden Sharp, I didn't mention him. He didn't shoot well, 1 of 8 from 3, but finished with 17. He had a big dunk, put back dunk on Jakob Poeltl when the Blazers were absolutely sputtering early. It was the biggest sort of momentum, energy moment early in the game when it's like, hey, somebody do something. Blazers playing this game without obviously DeAndre Ayton, and who's probably feels like likely done for the year, but we'll see. No Rob Williams, no Jeremy Grant, and no Jabari Walker, who remains in the concussion protocol. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm not even complaining about it. Scoot stinker, and it happens. Players sometimes players play badly. The reason that Scoot had an awesome game the last game is because Anthony Simons had a stinker, right? Like that's life. But the Raptors didn't want to win, and it was so abundantly clear that it just felt kind of weird. Again, I want to say this. If you enjoyed this Blazer game, I don't want to take anything away from your enjoyment. I do not want to tell you how to appreciate the basketball team that you like. I'm talking about me, and I'm talking about the NBA's incentives. The Raptors pulled their best players off the court over the final 5 minutes, over the final 9 minutes, really. First, Scotty Barnes, who only played 27 minutes and 40 seconds, played. If he takes like a normal rest and comes back in at the 5-minute mark, you're talking like a 33-minute night for a 23-year-old star. It's good. It's fine. It's fine number of minutes. Even if Scotty Barnes is on 28 minutes cap, sit him out in the third quarter so you can play him in the final 5 minutes when it matters, right? Like it's just so bizarre. Jamal Shed, the Raptors' only healthy point guard in this game. When they went, like the other point guard that's sort of available is Scotty, right? Like he's obviously big. He's like power forward size, but like plays a little point forward stuff. when both of those gentlemen were out, it was 38-year-old Garrett Temple playing point guard. Garrett Temple turns 39 in May. Shout out to my millennials. I'm proud of y'all for still being in the league. But, like, is Toronto playing a 38-year-old backup point guard? Part of, like, does that add value to what the franchise is chasing necessarily? You pull Shed, who was, he was plus minus a little bit misleading, but it's plus 21 in his 25 minutes. Like, they won his minutes. And moreover, you just don't have another point guard available, both as a point of attack defender and as like a dude who can dribble and get you into stuff. You don't really have that. You pull Jamal Shed with 8:40 left. Then you pull Jakob Poeltl. And now Jakob's been playing small minutes. The Raptors have been doing this. This isn't necessarily unique. They've even won some games where he's played little minutes, and they've like rolled with Orlando Robinson and a little bit of Colin Castleton. But like, Jak was killing. He had 19, 8, and 3 dimes. He was making the offense functional. He was getting offensive rebounds. Like, to bench him over the final 5 minutes, it's a little bit weird. Unless you know exactly what the Raptors are after. The Raptors are 24 and 44. They were 23 and 44 coming into this game. They'd won a couple games in a row against a soft schedule. A few games in a row, 3, I believe, against a soft schedule. They don't want to win. And they're staring down a 5-point lead with 9 minutes, 6-point lead with 9 minutes left in on the road against a team that's just not, the Blazers didn't play very well. And like, they're staring down they take a timeout. 5.5 minutes left, 6-point game, and say, we're going to do things that will allow us to lose. And the NBA's incentive plan says, good job. And the Blazers, who are a team very dedicated, they are so committed to finishing 10th in the West. Whether that is virtuous or not is maybe in the eyes of the beholder. But they're not going, like, they have had some real egregious stuff lately. But they didn't do that. And even they are full on headed for the 10th seed if they can get there. And if they don't, because they can't catch Phoenix, they are going to gladly finish 11th, a noble 11th place finish, right? They might end up in 12th. But like, both teams got what they wanted. And the building, there was juice in the building. Like, the end of the game was kind of enjoyable, particularly like if you're rooting for the home team, right? Because they won. This is more about the NBA. But in the bigger picture, where the NBA is fining the Jazz for resting Lauri Markkanen in games he was healthy against earlier in March, and looking into and potentially fining the Oklahoma City Thunder for resting basically all of their top 6 players against the Blazers earlier this month in a game in Oklahoma City that the Thunder won handily, mind you. But like, in light of that stuff, right? In light of the league like cracking down on player participation challenges around the league, making it very clear who is and who is not, what they are and are not comfortable with in terms of tanking. Although $100K for an NBA fine, it's just like not that much money, but whatever. Like, at least it's formal, out in the open punishments. In light of them doing that, and then watching the Raptors get to the 5.5 minute mark of the fourth quarter where they lead by 6 on the road, and they say, if we win, that's fine, but we're going to do our best not to. I watched the Blazers do this. I watched them pull Shaedon Sharpe out of a game and close a game against the San Antonio Spurs with John Butler Jr. at point guard. This is not foreign to me. This feels warmly familiar. Welcome back, old friend. Is this egregious and shameless losing because the NBA incentivizes shameless losing, particularly at the end of the season, particularly against other bad teams, particularly for teams that are kind of where the Raptors are, not quite at the bottom, but could improve their lottery odds by continuing to lose? I remember you. Which made me think about an old friend, Keith Parrish, old guest in the podcast, host of the Grits and Grinds podcast. Go subscribe wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube to Grits and Grinds. Keith is great. And Keith had a solution for fixing tanking. Points. You get awarded when you win. Let's talk about it in the third segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. You can categorize all your expenses quick and easy, so you can see how much you're spending on certain things. Wow, all of that money that I spent on, on expensive groceries or eating or dining out, that is really starting to add up. And then you can budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps to track these types of things, Monarch Money checks your finances, tracks your spending, and even can help you plan those long-term goals all in the same place. It manages money smoother than ever, so you can track what you need to track and stay on the same page without stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, and the code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. I don't even have any beef with the Raptors. They are doing what the NBA tells you to do in a system in which your odds at drafting higher in the lottery are improved by losing. There is incentive for teams to lose. I think there's different levels to it, right? I think there's different levels to it. Once you get in the bottom four, I think there's some incentive to stay down there, but for my money, I don't think there is a major difference between 2 and 3. Obviously, if you're 4, you can't fall lower than 5. At 2, you can fall to 6. At 3, 7. So, certainly bad stuff can happen. So you ask the Pistons, they've fallen from the worst record in the league to 5th a couple times in a row. Once you've cracked that 14%, once with the flattened lottery odds, you've gotten that 14% chance of the top pick. It changes a little bit. But when you're in the middle, when you're not in the really bottom of the bottom, when you're kind of in that middle lottery spot, or the middle of the top 10 is maybe a more accurate way to say that for the Raptors, there's some incentive to lose. And we've here in Portland, we've watched the Blazers do it. And while I think it's like a scourge on the league, I don't blame the franchises for doing it. That's not their fault, right? That's a different thing entirely. That's a problem. That's a problem, but it's not. It's a problem with the incentive system. It's not a problem with any team's decision making. But I was reminded of old friend Keith Parrish, host of the Grits and Grinds podcast, who joined this show 2 years ago and proposed the tanking points system. In this system, every time you beat a team with a better win percentage than you throughout the season, you are awarded a tanking point. And then at the end of the season, based on the number of points you accumulate, you would get you would be ordered, seated in the odds the same way you are with the tankathon now. There might be some ironing out if the league were to initially fully adopt this, but I think something akin to every time you beat a team that has a better record than you, you get a tanking point, and you are given, lottery odds based on those number of points. So it would be the same as it is now, with the number 1 overall seed getting, 52% chance at a top pick, and so on and so forth, 42% for 5 and on down. It would be the exact same odds system as it is now, but the way the rankings would work, instead of working by your actual record, they would incentivize you winning. So in a situation like Sunday, when the Toronto Raptors were up 6 on the road against another team in the lottery, they would be deeply incentivized to win, up 6 on the road against the Trailblazers, who have a better record. It is time to go win. And the Blazers, who have more lottery points based on my calculations than the Raptors, would be deeply incentivized to hold off the charging Dinos. Each team at the bottom of the standings would be incentivized to win games. Obviously, good teams are always incentivized to win games. The lottery points would not affect teams that are not in the lottery, just like your record, if you're out of the lottery now, is unaffected, right? We're talking about the teams that do not make the playoffs. They get lottery points and get seated there. And you might say, Mike, teams are gonna juice it, and they're gonna try to win, and then lose and win in certain games. Sure, I think there is a world in which you can maybe manipulate the system. I think that's true. But look at what happened Sunday. Would it be better if you're manipulating the system in order to win games? Maybe you lose early and then win late, but can you even pull that off naturally? Every game throughout the season is awarded to it. So is factored in. So if you lose early, you're just missing out on points. You are incentivized to win every game. There's naturally going to be bad teams in the league. Naturally, some teams are going to lose. What you're trying to do is prevent Utah from having a reason to lose to the Wizards, a reason to lose to Charlotte and New Orleans and Brooklyn. You are trying to make those games against teams that are naturally just talent poor and are going to be bad, because you can't avoid that, right? You're trying to incentivize those teams to win. So I went and calculated the numbers for the bottom 14 teams in the league, teams currently in the lottery through Sunday's games. Here's where everybody stands. In the normal system, Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, Brooklyn. There's your top 5, with Philly chasing that top 5 pick. Toronto now in 7th. Chicago, San Antonio, Portland, and rounding out your top 10 with Miami, Phoenix, Dallas, and Sacramento, your bottom 14 slots. Now, Dallas is in a world of hurt. Barely enough dudes to play games. 2-8 in their last 10, losers of 3 in a row. Sacramento melted their franchise kind of for no reason. They've lost 4 straight and are not in a good spot. Certainly they could drop out and end up in the natural standings with better lottery odds. Phoenix is climbing. Chicago can't get out of the way, but they might end up where they are lottery-wise. Miami, not a particularly good team, but also with 29 and 38, but also could end up with decent lottery odds in the range of as high as 10, depending on what happens with Chicago. Although I kind of doubt it. Those teams in the back half of the lottery, Dallas, Sacramento, they're kind of incentivized to lose. Who cares? Particularly the Mavericks. Who cares? They should lose. Under the current system, those teams would be encouraged to win. And Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, Brooklyn, teams at the very top, they're incentivized to continue to lose. In the current system, with the Keith Parrish point system, you're incentivized to win. To wit, the tanking point standings. This would be the same lottery odds based on number of wins you have against throughout the season against a team with a winning record. Chicago and Portland would be tied for the top spot, the top seed. Sacramento, 19. They'd be incentivized to continue to win. Sure, they might make the playoffs, right? But if they lose on purpose, their lottery odds get worse. That's a better system. Brooklyn, incentivized to win. They're in 4th, tied with Toronto, who would have been incentivized to win, could have tied Sacramento for the 3rd best lottery odds by beating Portland and been just 2 victories away from catching Portland and Chicago for the top spot. The Raptors would be encouraged to win games. San Antonio, Philly, 2 teams that are kind of packing it in. They'd be incentivized to win. Utah hasn't beaten all 15 of Utah's wins that come against teams with a better record than them. They would be encouraged to not tank also against the bad teams, to hold them off so teams don't pass them. Washington, just 15 wins, 14 of them against teams with a better record. You win early in the season for the Wizards. You miss out on a single lottery point. Charlotte, New Orleans, teams without a ton of wins. Charlotte just 17, but 13 lottery points. New Orleans, 18 wins, but just 13 lottery points. Phoenix, they don't beat good teams, have 31 wins, but just 12 lottery points. They are not being rewarded by this system. Dallas, 33 wins, just 10 against teams with a better record than them. Look at Dallas' record against teams against 500. They're not being rewarded in this system. Is it perfect? No. I don't think it's perfect that Chicago and Portland have the best lottery odds, but it does award winning, and it would award decisions in the summertime to make teams more competitive. In general, I think this solves so much of the problem that we have with the league. Everybody would be pushed to win. And certainly, this is the Locked On Blazers podcast. And if you're a new listener, you might say, yeah, of course Mike wants an incentive to put the Blazers at the top. And I would just encourage you to ask anyone who listens to the show regularly if that's the type of dude I am. They'll tell you that I'm an idiot and a hater. But Actually, they might not say the first part, but they'll definitely tell you I'm a hater. Like, doing the math, I didn't say like, oh, I want a system that rewards the Portland Trailblazers. Like, the Blazers taking off in February, in late January and February, like they did, they beat up on bad teams. They did what you're supposed to do. They took care of business. They continued to. They have not lost to a team below 500 since January 19th. Undefeated, now 10-0 against teams below 500 on the night they play them. They take care of business. And under this system, under the Keith Parrish tanking point system, the Blazers are rewarded in all of those games, every single one of those wins. I think actually the Miami one does not count. But every single one of those wins, they would be rewarded for taking off and winning games. They'd be rewarded for trying to win. This is a better system because it rewards you down the stretch. It says go out and don't pull Jakob Poeltl with 5 minutes left. Don't pull Scotty Barnes with 9 minutes left. Play the frickin' games. I think this is a better system. It's imperfect. I think we'd have to iron it out, but I think this is a lot better than what we have now, which tells the Raptors to lose. On a Sunday in a competitive game, the Raptors were incentivized to lose. They got what they wanted. The Blazers got what they wanted. In a perfect world, the Blazers could be chasing the play-in and maintaining quality lottery odds. They could be achieving both goals, pushing for the postseason in order to win games and get a valuable experience, and also be incentivized to win every stinking night. Come back for more shows the rest of the week. Blazers play the Wizards on Monday. That's just another game against a team that maybe doesn't care about winning too much, but at least the Wizards play some young guys. And also Chris Middleton joined me for tomorrow's show. We'll recap that one. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.